I'm Dr. Val Paul, founder of MedSmart LLC and inventor of the fecal centrifugation kit. The purpose of inventing this kit is to simplify the collection and processing of fecal samples. In our hospital, the use of this kit has resulted in a 92% increase in the number of samples sent to an outside lab for processing. Here we are at the lab to demonstrate how to effectively and efficiently process multiple fecal samples using the MedSmart fecal centrifugation kit. The outside lab will put the fecal samples into the centrifuge adapter. Notice that it is in this adapter caddy that will follow us through the entire processing of the fecal samples. We can process 24 samples at a time using these adapters. This is a multi-filling station that allows us to fill all 24 samples at the same time. This is a Masterflex pump. Now that it's started, it only takes 45 seconds to fill. We're using zinc sulfate solution that'll increase the diagnostic yields of parasites such as Giardia. Once that's filled, we bring it over here and let that sit while I come back over and put more fecal centrifugation kits and their samples into the centrifuge adapters. We've found that letting it sit for a moment helps to break up the fecal slug and allows for a more uniform slurry to be formed. This is the pump in action, filling up all 24 samples at the same time. While that's filling up, you can agitate the sample by leaving it in the centrifuge adapter. Different fecal samples require different amounts of agitation, but you can see that that gets a nice uniform slurry, and what will happen is the fecal filter, as it's drawn up out of the conical vial, will catch all the hair, the litter, the grass, and large particles that then can be disposed. We'll just take a moment and agitate all of those samples. And you'll notice that there'll be different amounts of grass. That one has quite a bit of grass in it. By allowing the samples to stay within the adapters, it minimizes the amount of handling time for each of the samples. You don't have to take them in and out of test tube racks or anything like that. We've found that by using the fecal centrifugation method, we're picking up anywhere from 9 to 15% positive samples of all the fecal samples that we process. With those positive samples then, my recommendation is to follow the appropriate course of treatment and retest the samples after a 3 to 4 week period. I'm confident that that is one of the reasons why we're seeing such an increase in the number of fecal samples being processed, is that we can follow up on those positive samples. The clients are happy because they know that their pet has been cleared of the parasites. We're happy as a veterinary staff because we know that we're decreasing the worm burden out in the population. and good medicine is good business. Here's some of those vials, and you'll see that that's picking up the large particles, and it all comes out into that filter. This is a much cleaner process. It's eliminated the amount of materials that are needing to be disposed of, and increases the efficiency of the outside lab. You can see in that filter grass, large particles, and hair. Letting those sit really helps to break down that fecal slug and create that uniform slurry. Notice that there's one particular sample that's just a little shy. You can add just a little bit of fluid. The centrifuge adapters are then placed within the centrifuge. This is a Beckman Allegra 6 machine. It's set at 1500 RPMs and will go for 10 minutes. During this time then, we can bring this back and agitate the second batch of samples. It's been sitting for a time. It's now been 10 minutes. We'll remove the centrifuge adapters out of the centrifuge, place them back in the caddy, which will then come over near the reader. This is when the zinc sulfate solution is used to bring this up to a meniscus. Typically, once the meniscus is formed, then we'll put a cover slip on that to allow for the parasite eggs to adhere to the cover slip. We'll place a few of those on now. So they can be sitting, and then we can go back and fill some more of these. The use of the centrifuge adapter and the adapter caddy dramatically reduces the amount of handling time for each of these individual tests. It also helps to keep them separate, so there's less chance of cross-contamination. You'll get the idea. We can finish filling the rest of these up. Then we can take one of these once it's set for the appropriate amount of time and present it to the reader for their reading. This caddy and the cover slips can sit, and the reader can then take them off as they see fit, and the technician can then come back and continue to work throughout this process. So, you've seen in a very short amount of time how we've been able to take 48 samples through this process and keep and increase a lot of the efficiencies, decrease the contamination, decrease the chance of zoonotic disease to staff and processors. The big benefit to this is by using the fecal centrifugation kit, we've dramatically increased the efficiency of the process, and by doing so will reduce the staffing costs necessary to carry off this processing massive numbers of fecal samples.